Until 2 years ago, I used to hate habits. I thought that habits and routines were the most boring thing ever. As a kid, I hated it when the grown-ups made me nap in the middle of the day. I hated that I had to do homework right after I got home from school. Little did I know that habits shape who you are as a person. Your habits today will tell the kind of person you'll be in 5 years. Although I don't have the perfect routine or the perfect habits in place, there are habits that I often go back to and I find myself relying on them. These are the habits that made me happier and healthier in the last 2 years. If I could only pick one habit to start for the rest of this year, it would be to start writing online. Ever since I started writing online, my personal growth skyrocketed. I became a stronger thinker, my self-confidence boosted, and I became better at disciplining myself. So let's talk about how writing online makes you a stronger thinker. When you write online or just writing in general, you're forced to look at your thoughts. And when you can objectively see these thoughts, whether it's on screen or on paper, you have to figure out whether what you're thinking makes sense. And when you're putting your writing out there, you're basically forced to kind of clarify the things you're saying or simplify them so that others can actually enjoy reading them. And it's not the same when you're just writing in your own diary where you're rambling on and you're not really looking at your thoughts. When you expect others to read your work, you'll naturally want to improve your writing, and therefore that will naturally improve your thinking. And when you publish your work or your writing online every day or every week or however long, you'll naturally become a better thinker that way. Second, writing online makes you confident. When you're writing online, you're basically putting yourself out there. You're putting out your stories, your vulnerabilities, and everything that is kind of scary. But then you realize that once you do this long enough, you realize that there's nothing to be scared of. For example, it might be that today you're writing a blog post, and 5 years from now you're writing a book, and then 10 years from now or years from now you have an empire that is making an impact on millions of people. So I feel like writing online is a small enough action, but it will get you the momentum that you need when it comes to changing your life for the better. Third, writing online helps with self-discipline. So lately, I've been realizing that the people I admire online aren't necessarily talented. Instead, I feel like they're more disciplined, and they're disciplined enough to show up every single day or every single week that over time it looks like they're natural at it or they're very talented at it. So for example, I feel like my YouTube channel isn't growing fast enough because I know I haven't been disciplined with it. So I started in 2021, but since then I've only been really uploading about twice a month, and I feel like those people that we admire are really putting in the time and effort to make it work consistently. So this year I really wanted to work on uploading every single week, and for the past 3 months I have been succeeding in doing so, and I've actually seen some good results when it comes to people noticing that my work has been improving, and I feel like that really is what makes it the difference. And this habit really came from me being able to discipline myself to publish 3 to 5 articles per week back when I was writing on Medium. And I feel like writing is easier to stick to than creating videos or podcasts, because all you need really is a phone or a laptop and Wi-Fi, and then you're good to go. So there's really no excuse to when it comes to publishing online. Whenever I feel stressed, which is pretty often, I find that the quickest way to relieve my stress is by actually walking outside. According to research, walking helps boost your mood because it increases blood flow and blood circulation to the brain and the body, and it has a positive influence on the HPA axis, which is your central nervous system. So this is basically saying that when you walk, it helps calm your nerves, and that in turn makes you less stressed, less anxious, and just overall feel relaxed in your life. It's so simple, but it's so powerful. And right now, going for a walk is basically a non-negotiable for me and my husband every single day, even if it's wintertime or summertime or any weather or any season that we might encounter. Honestly, it's so much fun. So if you haven't tried it, I definitely encourage you to do it. So time blocking is when you block off specific time off your calendar to finish off tasks. So let's use the example of going to the gym. If you want to build a habit of going to the gym, then make sure that you time block this task on your calendar, and make sure that you can visualize this task on your phone or wherever it is that you often looked at. So personally, I use the app called Tiny Calendar, and that helps me visualize the tasks that I'm going to do for the month and for the day. Time blocking helps comes with specificity, which helps get things done. So for example, if you say you want to go to the gym, don't just put on your calendar, it's gym day. Actually define what you're going to do. So for example, for myself, I would say, okay, today is leg day or arms day or whatever it is that you need to get done. The more specific you are when it comes to defining the tasks that you're doing, the higher the chance that it will get done. Because when you're doing this, you're essentially priming your brain to kind of expect what you need to do for that day or for the next day when you're very specific on what you want to do. And not only that, I feel like time blocking your tasks really helps with defining what's enough. As opposed to to-do lists, where I feel like it's a never-ending list of things you need to do, time blocking actually visualize the things that you have done, and it feels like you're more satisfied or accomplished for that day because then you actually see that you have done enough for that day. And I think that just really helps, and also it will avoid burnout in the long run. So once you've seen that you have done enough, then you can do other things like doing nothing or watching Netflix and actually enjoy those activities and not feel guilty because you know that you have done enough for the day by actually visualizing the tasks that you have planned for that day. When I got into the personal development world, I actually stopped reading fiction books. As a kid, I loved reading fiction books. I loved reading Harry Potter, Twilight, Daniel Steele books, but I grew up and I thought that fiction books weren't cool anymore. I switched to nonfiction books. But after a while reading nonfiction books, I realized that I didn't like how it made me feel because I always felt like there was something wrong with me, that I was never good enough, and that I always needed to do something to change my life. So in general, I just didn't feel really good about myself. So in the past year, I've started reading more fiction books again. And to maintain this habit of reading fiction books, I actually started reading easier fiction books. So whenever someone asks me, how do you get into reading? How do you get to reading fiction books? They're so boring. I always recommend to find something that they would like. So one of the books that I always recommend to other people whenever they want to start reading fiction books is this book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. I feel like this is such an easy read, and I feel like it also has a very meaningful message when it comes to following your dreams or following your heart, and it's a little bit more on the spirituality side, but you don't actually feel that because it's written for an average consumer as well. And there are so many other books that are coming up right now, especially in the book talk world. For example, there's a book called It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and that's very popular. I read it and I actually really liked it too. Before, I used to read nonfiction books during bedtime, and I felt like that did not help. So now reading fiction books or stories really helps me shut down my brain, and I feel like I can sleep easier and faster because as a kid, that's what we used to do. We used to read bedtime stories, and reading fiction books has the same effect. So I feel like if you're someone who has difficulty sleeping at night, try reading easy fiction books, and that would really improve your sleep. There was a point in my life where I was addicted to social media, more specifically Instagram. And this addiction led to so many bad things like social comparison, anxiety, worry, stress, everything that you could think of when it comes to bad mental health. So in 2020, I decided to do something about this, and I went on a 4-month digital detox, and I felt like it was something that I didn't realize that I needed to do. During that time of digital detox, I found new hobbies, and I felt like I got to know myself so much better. The thing is, our environment influences us whether we like it or not. So that may be a physical environment or a digital environment. So depending on what you're consuming or who you're hanging out with or what you're spending your time on, that's going to determine what's going to help you or break you in the present and also in the future. So for example, if your screen time consists of seeing people traveling, starting an online business, and doing cool things in their life, guess what you're going to want to do? You will also want to travel, start an online business, and do these cool things that you're seeing on social media. So personally, I find that when I scroll too much on social media, it drains me. But I don't think I can quit again like I did in 2020. So instead, I found a different alternative, which is to limit my social media consumption consumption. So at this time, I have a limit on my Instagram app for about 30 minutes. And other things that I did is to turn off my notification on social media and also unfollow people that I don't really care about or that I don't really want to hear from. And if I do have friends, but I don't necessarily want to unfollow them, but don't necessarily want to engage with them, then I'll mute their posts and stories. And doing this actually helped me limit my consumption on Instagram, because when there are no updates, it feels like I've closed the loop. So whenever I go on Instagram, I scroll for about 5 minutes and then there's nothing new. So that way my brain is kind of happy because, okay, there's nothing else new here, I can leave. So ever since I've limited my consumption when it comes to social media, I feel like I just have more time and energy doing other things that I truly want when it comes to creativity and even spending time with other people or even just with myself. And along with the limiting your social media consumption is turning off your notifications. And when you turn off notifications, you're the one who's deciding when to go on these apps like Messenger or WhatsApp, and you're the one who's deciding when to respond to the people. So this way, when you respect your time, other people will respect it too. Okay, so I've tried really hard to get into the habit of daily journaling, but I feel like for someone who hates routines or habits, it just didn't work for me. But I found that bullet journaling is the best of both worlds. So journaling is more like a chore, but bullet journaling is something that I feel like I can rely on when I need it. So if you didn't know, bullet journaling is a method that writer Carol has developed. He's someone who used to work as a product designer or project manager or something along those lines, and he had ADHD. So he developed a system to kind of help him get things done, even though he was working on a million projects while he was having an ADHD. I'm someone who likes to work on multiple projects all at once, and I feel like bullet journaling really helps me focus. Bullet journaling has so many features that I feel like is so useful, but one of my favorite feature is really something that's called the daily logs. So the daily log is different from typical to-do list because at the end of the day, you're supposed to look at your daily log and see what you got done, what needs to be rescheduled to a different day, and what needs to be crossed out because you find that it's not really important to you. So a lot of times I find that when we are doing things, we don't really question them. And I find that when I'm writing the same task over and over again and rescheduling it every single day, it helps me question, why am I not getting this done? Is it because I don't want to, or is it because it's not important for me? And I feel like when you write things down instead of just putting it on your digital calendar and moving things around, it really helps you reflect, and again, it helps you figure out whether that task is really important to you. Another thing that I love about bullet journaling is that there is no specific thing that I use it for. I literally use it for everything, for brain dump, to come up with my video ideas, writing notes, my actual journaling notebook. And I don't feel like I need to use it every day. I feel like it's there when I need it. It's very comforting in that sense because it doesn't feel like it's a chore that I need to always be using. If you haven't tried bullet journaling, I definitely recommend it. And also, I just wanted to kind of put out there that I don't do the artistic bullet journaling. Mine is very simplistic. It's literally just text. It's nothing, I don't do designs on my bullet journaling. It's purely just written text and all that. So bullet journaling really allows me to kind of be chaotic and be messy in a very organized way. And I feel like if you need a mental health boost, then I would definitely recommend bullet journaling. Avoiding shiny object syndrome, or in simple terms, saying no to things. Most of the time, my default answer to anything that comes my way is yes. Saying yes to a new opportunity, a new job, a new freelance gig, to a new platform. Basically anything that comes my way that I feel like will lead to a very good future or a good opportunity, I say yes to it. But I realize that nowadays we have more opportunities more than ever. We have more platforms that I can count on both of my hands, and it's very difficult to say no. So this is something that I have been working on lately, the ability or the habit of saying no to things that really don't align with me and my future goals. So saying no to things can happen on a micro level or a macro level. So for example, in my new role as a travel nurse, I basically work a lot of the time, and I had this person who asked me whether we could switch shifts, and normally I would just say yes if I am able to help them. But when I looked at the schedule, I realized that I would be switching from night shift to day shift in the span of 24 hours, which can be really hard on my body. So in the past, I would have said yes, but now I'm more mindful of how I treat my body and my health, so I had to say no, even though it was difficult. On a macro level, one example that I can give you is really that I could be a travel nurse and also become an Instagram influencer. And I feel like I could do it, but at the same time, I would be exhausted because I wouldn't have as much time posting stuff on YouTube or writing content, or even just like doing nothing, because I would put a lot of effort into all of these that it would make me sacrifice a lot of things, especially my mental health and physical health. Even though I could do it, I feel like you have to figure out how to say no to different things so that you can actually live your life in the most aligned way. And this isn't to say that you can't change your mind in the future. Obviously you can, but I feel like if you really want to see results, you have to be able to learn how to figure out how to stick to your path and really not get distracted by so many things in life. And that really is a very hard habit to kind of build. Anyways, I have many more habits for you, but I thought this video became long, so I hope that you find some gems and insights in this. And just a reminder that you don't have to incorporate every single habit right away. I incorporated these habits one at a time in the span of 2 years, so definitely don't feel like you have to do them right away. I really hope that this video has resonated with you and that you be kind to yourself and you take it one day at a time. I will see you in the next video. Bye.